Oh, there she is.
Can you hear me? All right. You got Larry on the other one? Okay, are we ready? Okay, let's call this meeting to order and do the Pledge of Allegiance. And a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Roll call.
Yes, I have Larry.
Larry, are you there?
Donna Mosier.
Here.
Eileen Dunn. Rick Agler.
Here.
Brenda Owens. Barry Burgess. LeMay Nyford. Here. Ed Weiner.
Here. Proof of notice.
Yes, Ed, as per your documents in Florida statute, notice was posted.
Okay, disposition of prior meeting minutes.
Move we approve the prior minutes. Or April, what was March, please? What was the specific?
July 20th.
Wednesday.
July
It is
20th.
July 2022. Okay, is there any discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. Art Committee.
Good morning, or good afternoon. We received 21 and approved 21 art applications.
Hey, sorry, I was on the bar.
Okay, well, we're in session. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Technology. Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, so we received 21 and we approved 21 applications. Art applications.
Okay. So, see no need for discussion.
I make a motion, we approve those recommended by the committee.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Approved. Okay. Inspection criteria. Gary Beers isn't here, and he's on this, he's the chair of this committee. But I think we'll just,
As I said, we've submitted a rough draft to the board. We are not completed yet, and that's just so they can see what we've been doing so far and any feedback they might have to give us. And we're going to continue.
okay. Any questions or discussion on that?
Oh,
Hi, Ellie Maloney.
How did you
What-
give us I didn't see anything, that's why I'm asking. I'm only here a short time, so I'm asking, do I need to go someplace and pick up some paperwork to read your reports? In there? All right. Then identify it for me, thank you.
In your packet.
Can I ask what committee that is?
That's the committee that we formed a couple months ago to give the lady that writes the violations up, to give her some direction.
Oh, okay, oh, all right.
Okay.
Okay, and what conclusion, you're gonna keep going with it? Okay.
Okay, bulk communications contract. John?
So at the last board meeting, it was decided to enter into the latest agreement from Spectrum pending legal approval. The board did get a legal opinion back on that agreement, and I guess one day last weekend, you signed that agreement. We sent it back to Spectrum. We're waiting for the signed agreement on their side to come back to us. The final total that we reached that should be paid to Timber Oaks is $443,100.
Are there any questions?
Bonnie Lipsky, San Clemente. If we're not for profit, how do we take this money? Isn't that illegal?
Oh, we'll probably have to pay taxes.
But we're still non for profit. Just curious.
We're not using it for profit.
I think that's one of the questions that we said to forward to the attorney to find out. I don't know if we had any answer directly yet.
We had, he wrote a review of it.
Use, please.
Pardon?
Use mics.
We have mics on. And
Anna Osenga, 14116. At the last meeting, when you voted on this contract, it wasn't a done deal yet. It still had to go up a chain of command. So are you saying that this has gone up to the top person at Spectrum and it's a done deal for this amount of money?
May I speak?
sure, go ahead, LeMay.
At the last meeting, it was voted to accept this after we got recommendations if it was okay through the lawyer. So it was a done deal. If the lawyer said everything was good, and he did, so it is done.
If I may, at the last meeting, the board did vote on it pending lawyer approval. But after the board took the vote, the manager said it still had to go up a chain of command. And that was my question. Did it go up the chain of command?
What is she talking about, chain of command?
At Spectrum. John, you want to respond to that?
That's why I stress we don't have a signed copy back yet.
We don't have the check yet either.
Yes?
I still have the question that we brought up at the last meeting. If something sounds too good to be true, now, $400,000 just not to sign with any other company. That's the only clause in this? That sounds too good to be true.
Well, there's other parts of it that say we can't advertise, like post things for other companies or anything like that. But yes, it's an exclusivity agreement.
And is the exclusive going to be, this is for what, 10 years?
10 years.
So in 5 years, Spectrum comes back to you and says, we've paid you all this money, now we want to put all your homes on Spectrum, and you
No.
have to do it?
No, it's in the contract. That's not part of it.
It absolutely has that
Absolutely
written
not
out,
part
that
of it.
there's nothing we have to abide by, other than not advertise for anyone else.
No.
Okay, Rick?
Okay, Lemay?
Will you have them identify themselves? Who was just speaking?
I did. I'm sorry you didn't hear me. Gay, her.
Gay Hart?
Her.
Her?
H-E-R-R. Hair, her.
Okay.
I miss you, LeMay. So Rick, you had an answer for me?
Rick, I wait till he recognizes, okay? Basically, the big thing they're getting is that we don't have to take somebody else in and block them out of this community of 2,000 homes. Okay, and they've already been pretty well established here, and we're not gonna forward anybody else, in there, but they don't automatically, we did not enter into another contract, so what they've done is kept the place open for themselves with this. That's the main item, as I see it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're keeping the place open for themselves. When? I mean, are we going to go all through this in 5 years again because they want to come in?
May I speak then?
Excuse me?
May I speak?
Lemay?
This does not exclude anyone else. It just means that the board will not recommend group contracts or any other cable or internet company. That allows Spectrum to keep what they have and still sign people up. But it also allows you to pick Verizon or Frontier or anyone else who is available in the next 10 years. Just not the board saying, yes, we are recommending Verizon for everyone.
And we're also not signing a bulk agreement.
Right.
I realize that. I just want to be sure that in 5, 6, 7 years, you don't come back and say,
Contract
oh,
for
we've
10 years.
decided to sign a bulk contract with Spectrum. I
Now,
want to make sure they can't push us into a bulk
and
contract.
3 minutes.
Dale?
Dale Thompson, Hachita Drive. Okay, so now, if I'm getting this right, some workers from Spectrum presented someone with an offer, and you signed a contract. Where did the contract come from that you signed if the higher-ups at Spectrum aren't even sure about this deal going through yet? How did we sign a contract? Where did you get the contract? Spectrum worker off the street, or if it wasn't a higher up that has the ability to offer us this in the first place, which is what I believe John was saying at the last meeting, did not happen. He said it came from the lower people, not the higher up people. So where did we get this contract from in the first place?
Well, I think with what you're looking at, Dale, is the structure of the company. They have representatives that go out and sign contracts all the time. Now, then they, or propose contracts, and then they send it up the chain of command. Now, they propose the contract, we went over it with our attorney, he's agreed that there was no problems with it, so I signed it. Now we're waiting on their response.
So if I go to a car dealer and I find a really beautiful big truck that I want, and I get a salesman to tell me that he's gonna sell it to me really, really cheap, as long as I sign the contract, I'm supposed to believe that when he goes inside and talks to the big wigs, they're gonna go along with that? I'm just surprised.
Usually
it
he
just-
has that authority if he's a salesman.
No.
I've had that exact thing happen to me, Dale, so.
I just can't even imagine.
Okay, engineering services. John?
And just a footnote to the Spectrum issue, there is a meeting here next week. One of the board members for Chateau is, I don't know how many condo board members he's reached out to, but he has a meeting. He's negotiating bulk contracts for condos for anyone that wants to attend. That's either on the board or in a condo that would like to discuss bulk contracts. Spectrum rep is coming to discuss bulk contracts for the condo.
How about an update on our seawall and drainage project?
So at our last meeting, the board approved the drainage contract with GA Nichols as our engineer had spec'd the job out. That, you signed that contract, and the new total, we were pending some additional changes to that contract. The final contract comes out to $96,887. We're expecting them to start on that project immediately after Labor Day.
What about the seawall?
We're still waiting for proposals for the new scope of the seawall. I have no updates. I have talked to a couple of the contractors that the engineer recommended, and we're waiting for them to come on site and provide a proposal.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Yeah, can you give directors a sheet of the new scope so we know we'll all know what they're bidding on?
We have a copy of the contract, and we have the detailed plans, a site plan in the office. That's all that we have.
All right, we'll just get copies.
I have a copy of the contract.
Okay, moving on. Fines and suspensions. Donna?
Yes, I make a move to fine the owner at 8025 San Fernando Drive, $50 per day for lawn and landscaping that's in violation of Tosca's covenants for up to $5,000.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
I'm not organized, that's not the one I had in the way the order was given. What was that address again?
8025 San Fernando Drive.
Okay, fine. Draw my.
We'll do that after. All set?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I move to fine the owner of 8103 San Bernardino Drive, $50 per day for maintenance that is in violation of Tosca's covenants for up to $5,000.
Second?
Second.
Eileen, seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 I move to fine the owner of 10809 Casa Grande Avenue, $50 per day for lawn and landscaping that's in violation of Tosca's covenants for up to $5,000.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
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 I move to fine the owner of 11020 Water Oak Drive, $50 per day for lawn and landscaping that's in violation of Tosca's covenants up to $5,000.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I move to fine the owner of 11040 Island Pine Drive, $50 per day, lawn and landscaping that is in violation of Tosca's covenants for up to $5,000.
Second.
Oh, excuse me.
That was my fault, Rick. I skipped that one. Had to go back to it. I skipped
All
it
right,
and had to
got
go back
it.
to
I'm
it.
good now.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I move to find the owner of 11040 Salt Tree Drive, $50 per day for no visible house numbers on the home that is in violation of Tosca's covenants up to $5,000.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I move
Opposed? Carried.
I move to find the owner of 10601 Springwood Drive, $50 per day for window coverings that is in violation of Tosca's covenants for up to $5,000.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I move to find the owner of 8739 Wabash Lane $50 per day for maintenance that is in violation of Tosca's covenants up to 5,000.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we have a report from the Finance Committee. Sorry, I should have done this first.
I was trying to get away without doing it. So that was good. Actually, we had a hearing on 8/9 for the. Hello? Okay, we started out with 13 violations, and we actually worked it down. People have, most have been made corrections on it. We wound up with 4 violations. 3 were enforced and 1 was not enforced. The one not enforced was on 109 Pepper Tree. It was hard to find the fence, let alone what all was in the fence, so we did not approve that. You should have the full report in there.
Yep. I show. One, 2, 3, 4 not enforced and 2 enforced.
Now, 3 were enforced, the one that wasn't enforced, well, one of them had 2 violations. One was enforced and one wasn't. Harold,
Oh, okay, one had 2. I see it.
right.
All right, good.
Okay, thank you. Could they shut the TV off, whoever's got it on with the phone? What is this?
Okay, new business under sprinkler well pump. We had to replace a pump 2 weeks ago because it went out, burned out, so we had to replace that. And so we went ahead and polled the board members because we had to get it done right away so our plantings wouldn't die. So we have a receipt for that, so we need to just reapprove that for the meeting.
I make a motion, we reapprove the $3,900 for the pump.
Six.
Voted on the signature vote earlier.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, correspondence. We have one here for 8025 Casuarina Drive. Is this person here? Nancy Buono? Going once, going twice. Rick?
I got a little confused because I see 2 different addresses on this letter. I see an 8025 Kessler Green Drive, and I see an 8425. That's our address. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Like I
Well-
made a stupid mistake.
we can't, if she's not here, I guess there's no point in addressing.
Are we sending that to the attorney?
What?
Or
letter?
issue?
No.
I mean, San Clemente has a village in the it's in the back of the, there is a section. in the
But she's
back
not
of the
here, so there's no
documents.
point in discussing.
There's a section.
Okay, what about 10611 Springwood Drive? there anyone here to address that? 10611 Springwood Drive, John?
And that's the one that's carried over. At the end of our last meeting, the gentleman had the issue with the hedgerow, the speed restriction violation that he was questioning, and the board was going to take a look and respond back.
Well, I think at this point, we should proceed with the finding. That's definitely a hedgerow. I don't think it matters what kind of tree is involved in the hedgerow, but the way it's planted, it's a hedgerow. Any other discussion on it?
May I speak?
Sure.
I have a problem with this one only because if you drive around Ponderosa, there are so many that are so much worse than what that is. And unless we are going to equally fine others, I don't think it's fair that we fine that one.
Donna?
On the committee that we've been going through for the fines and everything, there is a stipulation in there that any kind of bushes or anything can only be 8 foot tall. So if they're taller than that, only in the back of the house. If they're any taller than that, they've got.
And if you're going to follow that, then you need to follow it for everyone.
I think we do need to follow it for everyone.
But it has
But this
not
is
been
the
done.
one that's before us now, so we need to address this now. Because it's already went to fine. And we postponed his fine.
Right, because we were going to look into it. So I think you'd have to make a motion or put it to a vote.
What if we looked into?
Yes. Rick?
Yes, I have a bit of a problem here in that I read these things quickly, but this just popped out at me, I guess, because of my background. And under section 802.3, tree removal. Tree removal, everything needs to have a standard, you know what it is. I don't consider this a standard. A tree removal permit is required for the removal of all 5-inch diameter at breast height of grantees trees, except for the following. I don't know how the heck you would ever know whether that's 3 foot, 6 foot, or what.
We're not calling for the removal, we're just calling for it to be trimmed at 8 feet.
What to what height?
8 feet? That's what our rules say for the back of the house.
Okay, so it's not under this rule.
It says it's a hedgerow is what it is.
Yes, but if it consists of trees, is that different than talking about bushes?
Well, have you looked at it?
I
Right up here.
only saw the pictures. I didn't go to his house.
May I speak?
Sure.
There was the gentleman that came in at the last meeting brought affidavits from an arborist that these were trees, not shrubs. I don't think that makes a big difference because he's using it as a hedgerow. My problem is there are so many other trees and bushes that have become a forest behind people's houses on Ponderosa. Also the fact that we only really see that because he happens to be on Ponderosa. But if you go on Ponderosa and go the whole way around, there are violations everywhere. How this one house was picked, I don't know. The only thing I could see is that it is a straight line, and so it was picked up as a hedgerow or as a privacy fence, but many others have that same thing in a lot worse condition than what that is. That's why I asked for a vote. I don't believe he should be in fining.
So are you gonna make a motion?
I can if I need to.
If you want to vote, you need a motion.
Okay, then I make a motion that we not fine, I don't know the address, that the owner of, would you fill the address in, please?
10611 Springwood Drive.
Ed, can I say something?
For the trees at the rear of his property.
Ed,
Okay, Donna?
Do we want to try to send this over to our committee to try to come up with a ruling on that then?
No, because your committee isn't supposed to make rulings, you're just supposed
But
to,
we already
make
have, there's
recommendations.
already a ruling in there regarding bushes and trees and stuff like that for the back of the house. And if those are considered trees, then they're under the violation.
Does it say trees or bushes?
Well, we have one in there for trees and for bushes.
Well, isn't it also our prerogative to look at situations and vote on them?
yep.
Okay.
I mean, I kind of agree with you, LeMay. I do feel like that it's kind of gotten out of hand in a lot of the houses there on Ponderosa. And I do
Right.
think that it does need to be cut back some.
Right. Was there a second on the motion?
Yeah, I second it.
Okay, that's Eileen seconded.
Okay.
Okay, we got some discussion from the audience. Chris?
Chris McNeil, out Elderberry Drive. I got a letter that said I needed to cut my shrubs. I have privacy shrubs in front of my little yard as I face Ponderosa. And my little lanai is right there, and I sit there and drink my coffee and look out, and I can see people looking in at me. And they asked me to cut my shrubs down to 6 feet. And so I brought somebody in and paid them to cut my hedges down 6 feet, and you just said 8 foot. So why?
6 to 8. 6 to 8.
Okay, because now I can look right out and see everybody going by my house, and they can look right into the.
I think it's supposed to be 8
What
feet.
point is to have
in the back.
privacy shrub if it's not?
It says, the rules say 6 to 8.
Okay. All right.
Now Thompson, Hachita Drive. You know, I kind of go along with everything, and a lot of people do have living fences. And when you ride around Ponderosa, there's big trees, there's shrubbery way up over my head. Some of the one particular house near me has always looked like a forest. And the thing that really gets me here is from looking at the trees in the picture at the last meeting and speaking to the man, I did not go by it, which I wished I did, but these trees have been there for God only knows how many years to get that tall. So why in the world all of a sudden now would you tell somebody they got to cut the tops of their trees off?
It'll say the 14116. Our guidelines say the shrubs in the back can be 8 feet high. There's no guideline as how high trees can be. If your committee is changing that, you're basically changing the ARC guidelines.
We're just saying.
But if
that-
you're saying the trees can't be any taller than 8 feet, then yeah.
No, we're saying that
Okay.
the shrubs, that they're
Okay,
They're planted in a shrub row, a
Right.
hedge row.
right.
And
And there's already a
come out,
guideline
I
in
mean, if
the
you
ARC.
look at them, they look like a hedge row to me.
Right.
I wouldn't call them
Right.
trees. He called them trees.
Well, I'm just saying that it's already in the ARC guidelines. So, thank you.
John?
And regarding the LeMay's motion, since it's already been to the finding committee, the motion should be more along the lines of to stop the finding and rescind.
Okay, did you hear that, LeMay?
No, I did not. I couldn't understand it all.
He said that your motion should be that we stop the finding and rescind.
Is it just on this one particular case?
Yes,
Okay,
since it's already been the finding.
that's fine.
Do you make
So
your,
do I need to make a new motion?
Just need to amend it.
Okay, then I amend it to say stop the finding and rescind on that property.
Okay, second it. Any more discussion? We'll call for the vote.
Yeah, I'm looking at the architectural guidelines, I did not see anything in here that says about trees being 8 feet tall.
Now, if they're trees, we don't regulate the tree, like height of the tree.
We don't have a regulation about trees. Plant a border of trees, they're trees. We don't have anything in our guidelines about the trees except, having them permitted or replaced, and that's the county rule.
and we voted.
Yep. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of rescinding the fine and not proceeding further with it on this case, say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Okay. Anything else?
I guess this is Joan. What's been going on with the people that are underage to live here?
May I answer that?
I'm wondering what is going on with the people that are underage living in Timber Oaks?
May I answer that, Ed?
Thank you.
May?
There was, I think you're particularly talking about the house on Glen Eagle. We had sent them a violation letter. In the meantime, because there was no proof of anyone other than the 26-year-old living there. And what happened was, right after that violation went out, she has moved out of the house and the house is on the market. So we have stopped that violation because she is not living there anymore. And the house is on the market, so that took care of that. As far as others moving in, we are pushing for deed restricted, and we're still having problems with that, but that's as far as we can go. I think we dodged a bullet, actually, so.
Okay, and we don't have any issues in Oak Forest.
Not that I know of, nothing that has been reported.
Okay, that's just someone that's unhappy that it's a 55 and older community.
Correct,
Okay, thank you.
That's the one that didn't show up.
right, that was the correspondence.
Ellie, do you have something before we close the meeting?
You know, I
Want to
would
open forum?
humbly ask you to tell me about the engineering services. I asked Ann if she got the information. She said she couldn't comprehend it either. And the update on seawall and drainage projects, this does concern us because of the locked door there. So I know John gave it, but for some reason we couldn't hear you. So can you tell me where we are with the update on the seawall and drainage? Usually you have an attached report. Aren't you going to do that report anymore?
Can I answer it?
Go ahead, LeMay.
I found that report.
LeMay is going to respond.
Pardon me?
The only reason I want to answer this, Ellie, is because I put up the motion at the last meeting. Drainage is to start the day after Labor Day. John reported that. And the pool will be closed, not sure how long. And that will take care of the locked door that goes out from where the porch is in the hallway. And that drainage will come out and it will run down along the outside wall of the pool on the right-hand side through the seawall and out directly into the lake. That has already been approved and will start. The seawall, we are still waiting for bids on that. The lower portion of the deck on the right-hand side, the lowest gate coming out of the pool, you will see that is all roped off and that gate is locked. Because of the amount of rains we have had in the last 2-week torrential rainfall, those have split. Those concrete patio portions have broken in half. There is sand that has washed out. I walked the seawall and looked in. You can see hollows of 3 to 4 feet underneath there. That is all blocked up. We are desperately waiting for people to bid on the repair. The seawall is fine. It's the other side of it.
Okay, and on the drainage, who was hired? Do we have the company and what it's going to cost or anything? Because you didn't say too much
We
about
just voted on that.
Did you,
We just voted on it today.
on the drainage issue, so you signed for that?
$96,000.
So you have a company coming in and there's a certain price for it?
Right
and
after Labor Day.
how long it would take? Okay, well, maybe in the next meeting on a report. That could be. It's very, I found John's reports very informative and kept you up to date on what you had forgotten before. And I'm just wondering, is there a better system we can get for this absentee board members, which we've never, ever had these many board members not showing up as this particular board has been doing. So it's very sorrowful to see that. There's usually reasons for it.
Well, Sue did it always during the summer.
Yeah.
As she is a snowbird. And so
I-
now we
I've been
have
here
Brenda
20
that's a
years.
snowbird.
I've
We
never
got
seen
Larry
that.
who's sick and May's down visiting her son. So, I mean,
Oh, no,
We gotta
May
accommodate
has been
people.
here all the time, right? And there's a few others that haven't, which you can't help when you vote for them and then they don't show anyway. It's too bad it's a state statute that we are required to let snowbirds be on the board, because that does make a difference as to knowing what that particular board member is thinking, because with the format when they formed the forum, that's one thing, but it certainly isn't as good as before.
you're really out of order because you're
I
not
am,
addressing
all right, thank you.
the,
Beverly Hasty, 8701 Benton. I would like to say something about the underage people. There's more than just the one that on Casarino. There's one on Benton. There's one on Winding Wood. There's something that we should be able to do with the real estate people that rent to underage or sell to underage people. I don't know how we can do it, but we have to try to do something because it's getting bad.
I'm not aware of those other ones. I'm only aware of the ones that are brought to our attention. We need to bring it to our attention.
I just did. I can find the addresses. I'll
Can you
give
give Debbie the information in
I
the
will.
office so we can pursue those?
I will. Thank you.
And what are we doing now, and John? We're asking what, for formal letters? Because I know we stopped green cards, right? There's no more green cards, so we're asking what, for a formal letter, so we, to bring it to our attention.
Something in writing that the board can review, something to be added to correspondence on your monthly meeting.
Okay, at this point, we'll adjourn the meeting.
I move that we adjourn.
Second?
We get closer to it.
Okay, we'll now have open forum.
Guess who? Brian Champagne, Capri Villa. I saw you today, and I know you're working on it, and I appreciate it. I would just like to know if, and when we do get the funds from Spectrum, if we can commit to at least using some of it for the gym, update it.
That's in my plans.
Mine too.
I miss you here, by the way.
I did you?
I'm walking all ones up.
And I'll say go 14116. Well, you don't have to answer, but when people send in correspondence, are they notified that they're going to be on the agenda?
Yes.
Because it seems like it's repeatedly, nobody shows up after they've written you a letter. And also, it's been an ongoing problem. Our deed restriction lady does not see these Christmas lights during the day, but there have been more Christmas lights added on Tapestry, and now another neighbor has them. I wish that at least one board member would drive down Tapestry after dark. These Christmas lights have been up for at least 2 years. Thank you.
Mickey White, I'm on Winding Wood Drive. My question is, I've been waiting for the document from Blue Stream for question you if you wanted it or not. Well, that seems to have dried up. Stream dried up. And what I want to know is the new contract that we have for Spectrum, what are the details of that? Can we find out what the details of the contract are?
Basically, what the details are, I can give it to you real quick. They're gonna pay us a whole bunch of money to not sign with anybody. So we won't be making a bulk contract for anybody. You still have the option of choosing whichever company you want, but we won't be offering you a discount because of a bulk contract.
That's it, okay. It's like a paragraph. It's a paragraph and it's been going on this long?
Well,
It's interesting, okay.
you know, it was a proposal that kind of surprised us because when they found out we were in negotiations with Blue Stream, they wanted to stop that.
So we know what we know what the cost is gonna be to us through this contract, correct?
There's no cost to us. They're paying us. They're paying us to not do a bulk agreement with anybody.
So I have Spectrum right now, so I can just cancel that and I'll have it anyway?
No, we're not providing Spectrum.
Yeah.
You have to get your own contract. And Spectrum is gonna pay us for not providing a bulk agreement with any other companies.
Oh, okay. Do we get a check in the mail?
Not us, Timberwolves.
The association does.
Just a directive.
Okay, well, thank you.
And hopefully that money will be useful. What? Okay, Larry? I can't hear you. Can you put the mic near the speaker?
2,000 homes, that's $150 to $200 a month over 10 years. Instead, give us $40,000 in order to retain those customers.
What's your question?
Can you hear me?
No, can you repeat that, Larry?
Yeah, I was just thinking that there's a great deal of our residents have Spectrum already. And they pay, I guess, on average of $150 to $250 a month for their services. Isn't it possible Spectrum is thinking they would hate to lose those people who signed the bulk contract with another company? So in the long run, for a company like Spectrum, they are actually coming out saving a tremendous amount of money rather than losing the entire contract to another cable company that we might sign a bulk contract with.
Exactly, that's their advantage. That's why they offering us the money.
It makes a lot of sense to me. I understand how the residents might be a little apprehensive because of what happened last year, that they thought that the board was going to drop Spectrum down their throat. That's the furthest thing happening here.
Right. Anything else?
Anything else, Larry?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
My name is Stan Hemphill and I live in Capri too. I just wanted to register the fact that the gym is very important to those of us that have committed to lifelong rehabilitation after surgeries, et cetera, Those that do go in the gym use it regularly, and they would really appreciate anything the board could do that would be remodeling that gym, or at least getting some new machinery that works so that it's functional and we can all use it. It would be to all of our benefit.
That is in the plan.
Can I say something?
Go ahead, LeMay.
As far as the gym is concerned, or the fitness center, whichever you want to call it, unfortunately, that was remodeled like 3 years ago, which used up just about the whole budget that was there. we got a price to fix it. It was over $40,000, which we don't have. But thank you to Spectrum, we will have that, and that is a top priority for the majority of the board, is to fix that fitness center and use it because so many other people depend on it.
Eileen?
Yeah, John, we discussed this at the last meeting, and I think it was asked that we should have some money in the budget to replace some. Has anything been looked at about ordering some of that equipment?
Eileen, since our last meeting, we were able to get the one treadmill that was out of order operating. It operated for, I believe, was it less than a week? About a week, it was functional. Since then, it's died on us, and a second one has died now too. So we placed a service call to try to get one of those operational. Cost on a replacement in kind was close to $7,000.
Yep.
To replace one treadmill, $7,000.
It started with a 6, LeMay, but it was close to 7.
Wow. And we don't have that in the budget at this point at all for the fitness center?
Rick, do you know what we have for business center?
We don't have 43.
May I make an addendum to my open comment? I just wanted to let you know that I looked on Amazon and looked for commercial grade treadmills, not the kind that are $2.99 that you buy and put in your bedroom that become clothes hangers. They're anywhere from about $15.99 to about $2,999 for the top of the line Nordic track. I think it would be great for the board to at least purchase one to show some emphasis on this gym for now, if there is that kind of money available. I don't think $7,000 is needed for one treadmill. I would rather have one treadmill that worked than 2 treadmills that partially work or never work. Thank you.
Agreed.
All right.
Thank you.
Let me just make a comment as a treasurer here that John and I are working on this balance sheet and trying to include the auditors. And I specifically have come to the last 2 meetings instead of by phone, but at my personal expense from my new home in Baltimore. Because, we've got $1.4 million in cash. Okay? A lot of that is tied up. We've got such things as statutory reserves, which you can't touch. And out of that, that's, I think, 553,000. I'm going by unaudited figures at the present time, and we're just, and there's certain things, other things that come out of that, like $9,000 for RV lot. There's things we can't touch. But as John and I are both going through this, we're trying to get an analysis of some of these terms to free up or make sure if it is available to us. We don't want to preliminarily come to you and tell you something that I have to go back on what we're saying. But until we get to that point, John and I both sit here with a little smile, and I think Ed does too, in that we can't say something we don't know for sure. But we think there's some funds available here. And then, of course, the bonanza comes if there's 479,000 less taxes. And sure, we're going to have to pay tax on that, comes along. So, the horizon has changed, people. And I think it'll be up to the board to make some spending decisions. Thank you.
Can I just say one thing?
Just a minute, Eileen was speaking.
Go ahead.
That equipment, we worked on a thing more than 6 years ago for the equipment. I mean, that's about the lifetime of that equipment. And the equipment is commercial equipment. It's not the kind of stuff you put in your house. And it requires maintenance because of the tremendous amount of use that people use here. It's not like 2 or 3 people using it. A lot of people use that equipment. So it is time to start replacing some of it. And if we can't do all of it, maybe we can do some of it. And I think there is money in the budget to start ordering treadmills. I think that we should call them up, and you have to have a company that can supply you with the maintenance for these objects. You can't just call up Amazon, no offense over there about the price, but you can't just call them up and have one shipped here and that'll do. We have to order something that we can get constant maintenance on.
Am I available to speak now?
Okay, LeMay.
I'm sorry, but at a top price of $2,500 for a commercial treadmill on Amazon compared to $7,000 from these Yahoos we've been ordering from that break down within 6 years, and you're paying that kind of money, $2,500, you could buy 3 treadmills for that amount of money. So as far as ordering off Amazon, yeah, you can get top of the line. So the other thing I wanted to say was, Rick said 1.4 million, but you also have to realize some of that money that's being counted in that is the value of the buildings that we have, which we cannot touch. So we do not have 1.4 million to spend, and as Rick said, some of it cannot be touched other than that. So I don't want people thinking, oh, we've got 1.4 million, why aren't we doing this? A lot of it is budgeted already out or being held in property that we cannot liquidate. That's all.
LeMay,
Yes, sir.
I'm talking about, we have on deposit in cash, 1.4 million. Okay, now, as I explained, you can rough out easily that there's over 600,000, which we cannot spend. We have to have statutory things. Also, there are voluntary reserves, which we need to get into and figure out because they're not fully identified here and figure out. But we also have to analyze little things called prepaid fees, prior year's funds, current year's funds, things like this, and make sure that they are available. And it appears that at least some of this is. I don't want to commit further than that. But no, I've already subtracted out that the fixed value, that's that difference between the 2.063 $2,063,000 of total assets and subtracted out, of course, fixed assets. I'm reading, so it's easy for me. I 455,000 of fixed assets. That's not available, obviously. That's how I got down to the 1.4 million. But that'll come down small. Very quickly, it's down to 800,000. But that's still a big thing. And I think it's going to come down further. I know it is. But John and I are working on that because we don't want to pass on mistakes that are misnaming is all it is. Not disappeared, it's just misnaming things that have occurred in the prior years. We want to straighten it out now and do it right for the future. Thank you.
Correct. Thank you.
Dale?
This is still open forum, right? Because this is a strange one. Never quite had one like this before. Okay, from sitting here listening, I have to go back to the money from Spectrum. I totally understand how that is supposed to work, and I hope that it does. But if they give us $400 and some thousand, and now I'm hearing people say, oh, we need to put it to the gym, we need to put it to the gym. I can understand that for the people that do use the gym. Not everybody does. I probably won't even be here to use anything. But you know what? When I do come here, I'm still probably going to come through Jasmine. And I would just like to say, when we talked about the Jasmine fence, which I would say 99% of the people that live in Timber Oaks would love to see the white fence along there to match the one across the street. However, I know I was here when this was all discussed, and you cannot put the fence on that property without 100% of the people agreeing to it, because we can't just take the money and put it towards that fence. However, if we're handed $400 and some thousand, and we took 70,000 of it and said to the people in Timber Oaks, would you like us to put the new white fence on Jasmine? I think 100% of the people would probably go for it.
I don't know if you were here when we did the fence. And one of the items they considered on the fence and refused to pass was to put in the white fence. Okay, we thought that when we were replacing the fence, we put it up, that white plastic. And there was quite a few of us that were for that. But we go by the vote, and with the vote of the board, and the vote of the, most of the thing was not to do that. So it's been considered in the past, and that's only about 7, 8 years ago.
I was here for that, Rick. I was here for that.
And then you know that.
And I know that all of the homeowners didn't agree to put up the white fence, but they would have been paying for it themselves. If you went to them right now and said, look at that beautiful fence across the street, we have the money to put one up in your backyard and make this look beautiful when people come in here, it would improve the whole community. I can't even imagine people saying no if you're going to buy them a beautiful white fence and put it in their backyard.
Yeah, the attorney said he cannot spend money on private property. That's the problem.
Well, then make sure the attorney says we can't take $400 and some $1,000 from Spectrum when we're a nonprofit organization.
I guess that's not what he said.
Any other under open forum? Seeing none. Go home.